So I'm Bridie Fanning, and you can tell by my accent I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from London. I worked for General Electric for 11 years, which brought me to the US, and I was in Switzerland, Poland, the Czech Republic for several years before I moved to the US. I was actually in HR for most of my career, and then I was a senior advisor with Boston Consulting Group, and then moved to Accenture about 8 years ago, where I'm one of our organization's talent and people leads for our organization practice. And I live here in Milwaukee, where I moved nearly 20 years ago.
Matthew Schulze with Accenture as well. I'm in our technology strategy practice, been with the firm for about 5 years. Before that was at Ernst & Young. I kind of have a unique background. I come from a accounting and finance background and found my way into technology. Focus a lot on what value does technology bring to organizations, whether that's business uplift value, helping them deliver day-to-day operations smoother, and also IT operating model as well. I live over in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, so not quite downtown Milwaukee in the suburbs, but do come down here a good bit. I was actually just at a local client today, so it's always good coming back down here.
Oh, go on, you go first. Yeah.
All right. How do you continue learning and growing at this stage of your career?
Well, I've very much been a lifelong learner. I have 3 master's degrees and a doctorate, and I have a huge passion for learning, and it's part of my space. I mean, my doctorate was in learning cultures and how companies are adapting learning for the new digital age. Most recently, I wrote a chapter for a book on leadership in AI, which has been published through Routledge and the University of Pennsylvania. And I'm expecting that to come out at the end of this year, beginning of next year. And it's about disruption in leadership. So I spent all my winter last year, weekend after weekend after weekend, reading as much as I could about AI, what's happening with AI and people, the impact on the workforce and leadership. And having spent several months and many weekends researching for the chapter that I wrote, at the end of it, although there is never an end, by the time I'd finished writing it, I felt that I was up to date as much as I could be at that point of time with AI. But it's forever changing, forever learning. And in our field of work, it's something it's just a core skill that you have to do every day.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways I kind of do it. One is naturally on my own, whether that's reading books or looking at items, online, looking at publications. We have our own internal assets too for learning, but there's also the learning of our clients. And I think in our line of work, we work with, numerous clients every day, and each of them have different problems they're trying to solve for. And I think, it's interesting to see the overlap sometimes with clients, whether they're in the same industry or not. There are some key themes, AI being one of them right now. But I think that's one of the critical things is, learning and also just listening to hear, what are other people experiencing, what are they facing, and, how can, new technologies, or how can we, help them think of new ways to tackle some of those problems.
All right. Do I get to pick?
Yeah, you pick the next one.
Okay. All right, so here we go. What does authentic leadership mean to you in practice? What holds you accountable?
I don't know where I saw this once, but I saw that authentic leadership is leading from the front, not the back. And you lead by, by example. And for me, I think it's you need to get teams and individuals bought in to want to do something, and not just task giving. And so a lot of times I'll show them kind of a first pass, give them ideas. There is an element of they need to grow and try to test things out on their own, but giving them guidance in the right way, and always feedback. I'm a big believer in feedback early and often. Yes, sometimes it can be critical, but also there are the positive ones too. But there's always I think an element of learning, like we were just saying with that, but I would say it's very much leading from the front, not the back.
Yeah, And I think I've always really been a subscriber to what is now called, before it even had a name, was servant leadership, which is really, as you progress in your career, you realize it's not about you and it's not about what you can do. It's actually about the environment you create, that your people allows them to be the best version of themselves, that they can learn and they can develop. In the field that we're in, we just talked about learning, and our clients don't hire us to do things they can do themselves, which means that we always have to be on the leading edge of everything that we do. So Accenture means accent on the future. So when you think about that, you're constantly learning. Nobody has all the answers, and you're working with your teams, co-creating, looking for ideas. There will frequently be people in your teams that have more expertise than you do, that know more about the client than you do, and so on. So it's almost like reverse mentoring, learning from your teams, learning from your people. And I think as well, when I think about being authentic, it's about also sometimes being vulnerable and being willing to say, look, this is something new. We've all got to learn this together. We're all going to go through this training class together, or we're all going to read this book together, or we're going to do this together, and listen to the ideas that other people have in your team. And don't feel that you have to have all the answers, and be authentic in the way that you can say, hey, you know, I don't have the answers. This is something we're going to have to figure out for ourselves as we go along.
How would you describe the collaborative spirit among Milwaukee tech companies compared to other markets you've experienced?
Right. Well, I would say Milwaukee itself is a relatively small community as much as it is a city. I moved to Milwaukee nearly 20 years ago now, and I didn't expect to stay here. I was just going to be here. I was the chief HR officer of Fiserv. And I actually got offered 2 jobs in Milwaukee on the same day. One was the CHRO for Miller Coors, and one was the CHRO of Fiserv. So I was obviously destined to come to Milwaukee. But I didn't expect to stay. I was only going to be here for a few years while I did Fiserv. But then when I left Fiserv, I started consulting with Boston Consulting Group. Milwaukee has a fantastic airport, and when you do the kind of job I need, that's what you need. You need a great airport, and I'm 20 minutes, I live in Muskego, and I'm 20 minutes from the airport, so it was just ideal for me. And one of the things I learned when I was at Fiserv is I joined the board of the Milwaukee Public Museum. I was on the board for 9 years, what is now going to be the Museum for Nature and Culture for Wisconsin. And I met a phenomenal network of leaders, not just in technology, but other areas too. And what I found is that everybody was willing to meet with you. Everyone was willing to help you. No one would say no to a lunch or a coffee or a request for some kind of assistance. I really felt through the people I met through my role at Fiserv, the people I met through my role on the board, everyone was willing to step in and help for the community. There was recognition that whilst Milwaukee might be a big city, it's still a relatively small business community. And I felt like an outreach of friendship, that people were willing to support in a way that I hadn't found in New York City and other big cities that I'd worked before, or London, for example.
I think for me too, anchoring on that, it's you hear the Midwest style and Midwest friendships, and it's the little things of walking into the grocery store and you can have conversation with anybody. You see that with clients. I worked with a couple of our larger clients, not necessarily in the tech space in Milwaukee, and they're very much team oriented and wanting to build a team around it. And in today's nature, there's a lot of remote work and virtual work and having teams all across. But from what I've seen, these clients are very much, we want local people, we want to be in person together and collaborate. And I think that style of learning is contagious, and I think it's needed in today's world. And even with our own Accenture office too, I think we do a lot of events in the office. Especially in some of our younger, newly graduated folks, they're very on fire to just get in and meet people and learn. And it's something that I don't see as much in some of those bigger cities. Having worked with a couple clients outside of Milwaukee, there's, so yeah, I think it's very much the Midwestern culture, I would say, and you see that at the top and with some of the folks we work with.
Yeah. Okay, so I have this question. Where do you see the most exciting growth potential for Milwaukee's tech ecosystem in the next 3 to 5 years?
I would say, I guess the obvious answer has to be what's important right now in the market. That's AI. So there's got to be something there, I would think. I think also just a talent perspective, and I know there was all the the data centers and the Amazon stuff and all that we were trying to build, and some of the Foxconn, and is there a way we can kind of get some of that back and into Milwaukee, right? It's we've got all the great Chicago companies and clients that we have down there, but can we get some of that talent back here? And over the next 3 to 5 years, can Milwaukee be somewhat of an AI hub, if you will, for learning? And I think that starts with some of our schooling. I'm looking at the MSOE sign right over there. We've got some great schools here, and trying to embed some of that in those programs to get folks interested and be the next generation, if you will, for the Milwaukee tech ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the things that hit me when I moved to Milwaukee was the large number of kind of mid-size and small companies focused on very specialist engineering. And I think it's a real expertise that the Milwaukee system brings. And I think with the advent of cloud, other emerging technologies, and of course you mentioned AI, and we mentioned it earlier, I think Milwaukee is very well placed to take advantage of these emerging technologies through the education system that you talked about. And Milwaukee is a city that's on the up. Its best days are clearly ahead. It's exciting to see the vibrancy of the community, the investments that are being made. And, the Milwaukee Tech is an example of that collaboration and investment that you see. And I think it's an exciting time. Okay, go on, your turn.
Sure. How has your professional network supported you in your career?
Oh my goodness, it's been my absolute lifeline completely. When I was the Chief HR Officer of Fiserv, I decided that I wanted to go into consulting, and it was a totally different career path, career change. And what was absolutely fascinating is the network I'd built through my career is what helped me. My former boss in the Czech Republic was a chairman of a private bank in Russia, hired me. A really great friend of mine who I met through my first job with United Biscuits in London was now on the executive committee of Boston Consulting Group, and they hired me. A really great friend I'd met at General Electric, he was the chief marketing officer and I was the chief HR officer. He was setting up a joint venture with AT&T, Verizon and T-Mobile to establish Softcard, which you would now know as Android Pay. We sold it to Google 4.5 years later. He hired me to be the chief HR officer of the business and allowed me to do the job part-time, so I could work in consulting with BCG and other private ones. A friend of mine who I met through General Electric gave me my first consulting assignment with International Power. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but over a period of 8 years, there wasn't one day I didn't work that I didn't want to. And that was all down to the network I built over my career, helping others, and they will help you. And to me, it was a real testament to the friendships and relationships I built over my career that I was able to work for myself for 8 years before I joined Accenture.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of who you know, not necessarily what you know. I think what you know helps you kind of get acclimated maybe into the door. Also, I think who you know can help you get into the door sometimes, it sounds like. And in our line of work too, a lot of times we find ourselves almost applying for a new job, is what we call it. After your project ends, you're looking for a new project, and so you go through an interview process. And I try to avoid that because I'd rather go work with people who I know and have worked with before. So for me, I try to work with the same people, but also, venture out and see new things. But I do think there's an element of a give and a take of, yes, expanding your network and having them help you out, whether that's mentorship ideas, mentorship opportunities from folks who have been in your shoes before, to also how are you then being a mentor to others who were in your shoes years ago, right? It's kind of a continuous evolution of your network that you're building yours, but also helping build others. I think it's something that I'm learning to do as I'm growing up more in the firm and starting to have some of those mentorees, I guess you could call them, that I'm working with. But very much a big believer in keeping your network active as well. I always just try to, shoot people messages whenever I see them, because I think you need to keep it warm, your network. You don't want it to let it go too cold.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I'd add is the reason all those people were willing to hire me and have me work for them, and in many cases stake their reputations on the line for me, was consistently delivering, right? I had a lot of credibility. As one of the leaders said, Bridie said, you were very easy to help. And it really comes down to keeping your promises, following up, delivering what you say you're going to deliver, and all those things build credibility over time, and those relationships will help you through your career. I mean, some of those people I'd met 30 years ago, like in my first job, and there they were 30 years later. Who knew they'd end up on the executive committee of Boston Consulting Group, right? So I just find that network, it was invaluable to me and continues to be.